Cresta here with you again today. And today I want to continue my talk on narcissistic abuse. Sometimes I talk about addiction as well. So I never have any of these put together except things that I'm learning about as the days go by. Lately I've been listening to quite a few videos about narcissism again, and how it can really take a toll on one's being, one's morals, values, and character. As with any kind of addiction, I think above all, having a cluster B type individual who is king of or queen of manipulation really drag you through the mud for as long as they can until we start learning differently, whether it's through videos, classes, books, whatever it takes for us to finally stop being dragged by these individuals in and out of what can be torture. I think that it can be harder than drugs because at least we know that the drug could be, messing up our minds, and we can stay cut off from this drug, because we see it, it's there. But a lot of times when someone is manipulating us and after a while it turns into an abusive mess, what the damage can be just unconsciously. You're not noticing the manipulative tricks that they're using. You've never understood it. We were usually conditioned to take their crap, usually that was handed down by our caregivers, or sometimes maybe we just jump into this relationship. Maybe we're at a very vulnerable stage in our lives, and we've been doing okay, but all of a sudden this sneaky narcissist comes in, picks you off your feet and makes you feel like $100, and like you're walking on cloud 9 and the world is great. And then suddenly the abuse starts. He's already taken that money out of your bank account, or she has already played you through a game and is now with somebody else suddenly without any notice. Whatever is going on, it is not necessarily like a drug that you can pull away from. It can be very invisible to the eye unless we gain knowledge and therefore true power over it. When we can spot people like this, or spot people in our lives that maybe have always done this or treated us like this certain way, and then we didn't really notice before that anything was really going on, or they could have this or that control over us, and we end up bending backwards for these people, doing whatever they say or going along because they are constantly badgering us to do this or that for them. And the more that they pound on these boundaries, as we play inside of these victim roles, the longer they play out, the harder it does become to divide ourselves from these people. If we've ever learned to divide ourselves at all, now is a good time to learn as any. You've probably gotten to the point where you're wanting to understand it. yourself or what happens next, maybe in a custody battle, or you just hear the word narcissism from friend. But a lot of times, I know with these videos, for me to be able to listen to certain ones or get certain books or whatever, I have to pose questions first before it comes to me in the universe, like from a book or a class or whatever. So, we read about maybe we've come to that point where we can't take it anymore, which usually is a pretty powerful reason. When we're wanting to stand up to this stuff, when we're tired of being beat down, maybe at first it was great with the love bombing, and you don't notice that, but then you do start noticing something's wrong. They can act and mirror another person. They can act like they like everything you like. They like to do things that you like to do. You're perfect soulmates. They will even say it, They want to get married really fast. They want to, maybe sometimes they want to have sex. And then maybe during the relationship, they might start saying that they never wanted to be married at all. They're usually people with very extreme low self-esteem, too many traumas for a stable person to deal with. But a lot of times you have the codependent, unstable person coming into play, where we are addicted to this type of behavior or treatment, and we might not even realize. And then when the first love bombing phase starts to turn, they go into more manipulative ways of keeping you down by maybe beginning to tell you that you're nothing without them. Under their breath at the dinner table, they're calling you stupid, or you don't know what you're doing. You're crazy. The gaslighting thing starts. Maybe something's wrong with you. And until they're pounding, and we're sitting there trying to fight it, and being like trying to stand up for ourselves, like, well, that's not really right at all. The more that we keep with these individuals, unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way that I cannot stop that other person from doing or saying that, because they're going to continue with it. They might stop for a while, but eventually, as the abuse cycle does play out, they can treat you pretty well at first and be your friend and listen to everything and have a false sense of empathy even for another person. But as the devaluing sets in and that mask begins to kind of fall during the relationship, or when the idealization of you and that actual drug that you're giving them, that high that you're giving them from all the devoted attention that you're giving them 24/7 starts to fall, and then they begin possibly isolating you from your family, friends, or even children, and keeping you all to themselves. I know in my past relationship, the smear campaign was used big time, to where they can say lies about you, or even get you to do things that you don't really want to do. Therefore, again, going over those boundaries that you might have tried to place, whether it is getting you to drink with them, do drugs with them, or whatever it is, they can turn around and, or if you have deep dark secrets, they can turn around and tell everybody else, even your own family or friends. And, or like I said, for me, it was with my children as well. start smearing you, which happens, it can happen during the relationship or it can happen at the end when you're trying to get out. And they'll turn around and they'll say all this information about you, and until they can isolate you and say that nobody's going to understand you like they do. So they're sitting there and they're playing God, and you're just wondering why they're hurting you. If they've started to physically beat you, like provoking you with argument after argument, never helping you solve anything like a normal other stable person or friend would. Whenever you have an issue, although you are always giving them empathy and concern and sympathy and sending them validation 24/7 throughout this relationship, they cannot give it back. They can, sometimes they can act and it seems really real that they can do this, but it does never last. You can feel like there is a sense of not really a connection with these types of people. There is kind of like a coldness or a lack of validation for your feelings. Unfortunately, because these people have blocked that part of themselves somehow to where they cannot feel. It's usually like blocks over, their hearts, blocks over psychological parts of them, possibly damaged through trauma, or not enough love, and a lot of abuse done to them in their childhoods. Whatever the case may be, these people do lack a sense of real concern for you. And what's really kind of freaky is that you can start no contact with these people. You can break up with these people, and they can really go into rages or things, and just leave you maybe with no money. They can sabotage you all throughout the relationship because they have to be above for the superiority complex is just way up here and extreme. And oftentimes they can sabotage your efforts. If maybe you wanted to be in that talent show or get that regal position on that job, whatever you're striving for, trying to go to school, they can oftentimes, even if you don't know what's going on, slowly sabotage efforts to get ahead in your life or in any endeavors that you're taking. It can be slimy, and you would not often expect another person to actually have this ability to all of a sudden take that car and you can't get to your classes. They'll often take that extra money that you had, maybe possibly go blow it at the bar or gambling, just anything that you had saved back to buy that home. And then again, you have the type of narcissist that does not work at all, and that they expect you to take care of them, and have all kinds of excuses. They usually can't keep jobs. That is a certain kind of a narcissist. There's another kind that is an active narcissist, where they can be high in the society or in the bigger jobs, where they can be often your boss, and they're often hired because this is my own thoughts, but because they're more controlling types, and they just have this power that easily can control everybody. Unfortunately, these jobs that you work when you're working for one, a lot of times the treatment is not very fair. You get undercut in maybe just basic human, nice, pleasant treatment, or you end up doing more than your job should be, or maybe underpaid, put in lower positions, and it's harder to get in a bigger position. And narcissists will often have a lot of people surrounding them that are either like flying monkeys, which these is named after the Wizard of Oz, and how the witch had her little flying monkeys to do her bidding for her. And they'll often keep friends, and a lot of friends that are either narcissists themselves or flying monkeys, to even keep track on you. If you ever try to maybe break up with these types of people or move on, you might have some of their friends or neighbors or acquaintances come up on you and start asking you a bunch of questions on why you left them and to come back. It could be even your own parents that are more narcissistic. And like I said, the more awareness we have, the better and the red flags of these types, the better. It's like putting on this pair of like red binoculars where you can actually see through their bullshit, pardon my French, and really start seeing how it is. Unfortunately, a lot of times narcissists don't like this, and they can't have people like this around them because it blows their basic mask away, and it just like ruins any kind of fraudulent, goodness that they're fake goodness that they're putting out. Because their egos can't take it. It's like a shattering of an ego. When you start bringing to light up to these narcissists face to face, how crappy they are. I can go on about. There's so much information about this subject, but really, when that last part comes, which often happens because these people are so addicted even to finding someone that will go along and with their ways, that if you quit giving that to them, they will find someone else. Oftentimes, which happens, they might dump you and just act like it never meant anything to them. And what was really hard for me during the last one was learning, and it's taken me so long to even begin to accept it, that these people are incapable of loving or giving love, and to them, you're more of just like a mirror, where when they're done with it, and they've taken all that, depleted you of that source of giving that you once had, after they've drained it all out, they will go and find another source, whether it's another person or another thing. I can't say enough about how hurtful these people are and how they can destroy us in so many ways. Our thing, I think, is not to let that break us, and to keep going, just maybe meditating through forgiveness meditations and inner child work meditations or journaling, where we can stop putting the blame on ourselves, where these people have conditioned us probably all our lives to keep us us in such, insecurity levels and low self-esteem levels, when we can finally get away, we can really start even begin thriving towards better self-esteem, lower levels of anxiety, depression, and beginning to trust ourselves and not depend on anybody else for the love that we truly deserve. Thank you very much for listening today.